coup plot against Tinubu, why it failed. So guys, a captain is here to share more light on why they did not succeed. And you know, according to this headline, it says that army officers detained for alleged coup plot against Tinubu are attached to NSA Ribadu's office, include ex-governor's nephew. So guys, why did it fail? Is it that they did not properly plan or what? So a whole lot is happening. I'm just going to allow you to take a look at how this ex-captain, I think he's no longer serving, you know, he has come out to explain and throw more light on this coup plot of a thing. Just take your time and watch this video to the end to see some of the things he really pointed out. So guys, you can see what is happening in Nigeria. The coup we've been hearing happening in other countries is now happening inside of this country. Honestly, we don't want military rule. We want our democracy. It's better for us. The only thing we are asking politicians is to render the services they promise the people, good governance. That's just what we are asking for, not even too much. Anyway guys, take your time and listen to how this captain has also, you know, dissected this coup of a thing that has been trending all over the places, and he has also weighed in on why it failed, if indeed it happened, why they didn't succeed. Take your time and watch this video. Let me know your thoughts in the comment section below. Please don't forget to subscribe to the channel and also turn on the bell notification. Thank you.
Hello everyone, and thanks for joining us here on Front Row Politics. I am Gimba Umar, and joining us to discuss a very topical issue today is Captain Aliyu Rtd. Captain, you've been under the radar for a while now, but I feel just so good that I'm able to bring you out just to, you know, answer to this very vexed issue of, you know, a coup attempt on this administration. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you. Good evening, Gimba. I've been under the radar, yes, but actually I've been in my observatory and just taking things in.
Okay, when you heard first about this attempted coup, what came to your mind?
There was a time, Gimba, way back, I think that will be 2005. I used to write for a magazine or a newspaper. It was called the Ikoyi Obalende Times. The Ikoyi Obalende Times was a weekly publication then, and I used to do a security column there. And so when I heard about the coup on Saturday, incidentally, I was in a studio when someone scribbled it and passed it up to me. I was speaking about the subject of that security column I used to write in 2005. And one of the subject matters of my column then as a columnist was provoking the unexpected. So I was actually speaking to our leaders, I was speaking to our politicians to ensure that their conduct, specifically to ensure they upheld responsible political and social conduct, so they don't end up unwittingly provoking the unexpected. I had barely said this when someone jotted it down on a piece of paper and passed it to me that the Defense Intelligence Agency had just said they had foiled an attempted coup. So here's the thing. Much as coups are not trending anymore, much as military rule is outmoded or outvoted, let's not forget Nepal, if I'm not mistaken. Let's not forget Bangladesh. Let's not forget closer home, Mozambique, if I'm mistaken, correct me. Let's not forget our neighboring Niger, and let's not forget Burkina Faso. You see, human beings, are creatures of, and we are social in nature. We respond to all manner of stimuli, financial, political, social, cultural, you mentioned it. And where we do not want to see ourselves go back 40, 50, 60 years, it also behoves our leaders not to behave as they should or would be doing 40, 50 years back. So when I heard about the coup, I just took it with a pinch of salt. And from my observatory, I have been triangulating and doing some permutation. And it's not really looking good.
When you did your permutations, Nigeria is going through a very difficult time now. The economy is really biting. This reminds me of the time past during the 60s, the 70s, when those coups take place, and then they've been so bloody and bad. Do you think that the economic situations we are prevailing on in Nigeria today triggered the reasoning of the alleged coup plotters? Do you think that triggered them to want to act as we saw in the past?
Well, if you look at it, life in Nigeria in the past 10 years has been progressively unbearable. Progressively unbearable. And when I'm talking life here, I'm not talking about the politician's life, nor am I talking about any big military chieftain's life. But I'm talking about life for a particular bracket of people who populate this country up to, last time I checked, up to 81% or 82%. And that's the youth. Some people will want to refer to them as Gen Z. You see, these people beings, as I speak to you, populate the entire strata of active Nigerian life. They are tomorrow's people. They are in the armed forces, they are in the police, they are in the civil sector. If you go to multinationals and oil companies, when they tell you able-bodied men, if you go to multinational companies and private companies, when they tell you management trainees, they're talking about youth. When you go for recruitment in the armed forces, the police, the civil defense, whatever, they say able-bodied men and women. They're not talking about me. They're not talking about pensioners. They're talking about this able-bodied young generation of youth. They are the hustlers. They are today's people. And on the trajectory of 10, 15 years, they are going to be the active people in the helm of affairs in Nigeria. So here's the thing. A lot of them are not happy. Me, I may have done the things they are doing now 20, 15 years ago, and that's true. But I tell you as we speak, a lot of them are trying to put their children in schools. A lot of them are trying to rent homes, not even build one. A lot of things are happening, whether in the armed forces, in the banking sector, anywhere. And if the economy is not smiling with them, do you think they will be happy? They won't be happy. There'll actually be a bit of resting.
But then the question is this: even if they are not happy, even if they are not happy, as you say, does it warrant staging a coup?
To start with, before I answer, does it warrant staging a coup? Let me first of all ask, what is the position of the government and the armed forces, intelligence agencies on the coup? We're getting conflicting, releases. As we speak, there is what I want to call an information vacuum. And you know what happens when you have an information vacuum? The subject and object of interest begins to lose credibility. One. Two, anything you find in that vacuum, whoever takes up that place immediately becomes a credible source. Some are saying there was, others are saying there wasn't. So let me come back to your question. You see, I'll tell you something. People, being creatures of habit and social in nature, will do what they have to do if there are no options open to them. Everyone wants to survive. Everyone wants to survive, regardless whether the means of survival is legal or illegal. Once it comes to survival and people need to survive, then they will have to do what they will to survive. That's just why I want to put it. If indeed there was a coup, something pushed those young people or those officers to do so. If there wasn't, then the positions that are being taken by the different authorities should triangulate.
Okay, if I may butt in there, my apologies. Why did this coup fail? Why do you think this coup failed?
I'll tell you why, if there was any. It was probably plotted and conceived of by 3% actually, by officers who were too young to understand the dynamic of trying to spring one in a country like ours. The next thing why I would say it did not succeed is because the timing probably was wrong. Let me tell you why. From my website observatory, I have been triangulating, and as I told you, just watching. Now, don't forget, we had a national parade that was cancelled outright. You recall the 1st October was cancelled? You recall when we do not have a 1st October parade, we do have what you call a change of guards parade, where the commander-in-chief appreciates the guards brigade changing guards ceremonially. Do you recall? None of that happened. Now, here's the thing. Jimba, if you had a wedding and you had to cancel your wedding 2 days or thereabouts to the wedding, definitely something compelling must have made you cancel. Okay, I know you're married, so please, madam, excuse us. There's not going to be any wedding. But trust me, if you had a wedding and 48 hours, D-Day plus 48 hours, you canceled it, there will be a lot of costs. There will be a lot of invited people who will have to be what? Rescheduled. There will be a lot of people who have already, the RSVP upon the civil play part of your invitation. They will have already been ticked off there as they're attending. So imagine the things that would have had to happen where heads of government, captains of industry, my lords, spiritual and temporal, all the diplomatic community, 2 days to time, appointment, accommodations booked, embassies have already taken care of all the protocols and the itineraries. Advanced parties of heads of government and state would have arrived in Nigeria. Their security teams would have come in to clear where they are going to stay. Their protocol teams would have come in to take care of what they will be doing during that period until they leave. Ambassadors of such countries will be on their toes in expectation, and suddenly you hear it's been cancelled. The reason for cancellation has to be compelling. That is one. The next thing I want to tell you is the service chief suddenly became what? Tired. Yeah, it's a shake-up. Yeah, blah, blah, blah. I would have expected that if the service chiefs were going to be tired, there would have been some sort of ceremonial announcement. There would have been sort of, thank you for your service. But the way it was announced, it was like it was a knee-jerk announcement. Nobody was expecting it. And then, if you are in the military and you understand where the dice has fallen with the class or cost of the present service chiefs, you will know that an entire generation has just been told they can fold their mats and start going home. It's game over. So when you triangulate these things, it begins to give some kind of credence to the coup claim. But then, as I told you, those officers were too young. They were too. Those officers are not troop commanders per se. They don't carry gravitas, if I to have moved for a coup that would, if the attack surface that they would have commanded, if you want to use cybersecurity language, their attack surface was still very small and is ignorable. So that's what I'm saying. There are too many question marks and there are too many gray areas, and the involved institutions are also not saying much. So there's what I want to call an information vacuum still hanging. And when you look about, go ahead.
Captain, this is your forte. I mean, the military is your playing ground, if I will, for lack of a better word. But when you look at the optics of this attempted coup, planned coup, whatever it is, what happened was such that the NSA, Madam Nuhu Ribadu, has been, been on the receiving side. I mean, you are the NSA. You should get first-hand information about any security breach in the country. Now, the accusations on his head now are that he has failed to progress along that line. He has failed to, live up to that expectation because Mr. President gave him the NSA, knowing fully well that this is a police officer and has not reached the experience of ranking generals in the military who were more qualified. That's how the narrative goes. More qualified than Nuhu Ribadu. Do you think that if Mr. President had made a different choice and had a military personnel to become NSA for him, do you think that Nuhu Ribadu's job would have been, or anybody in that position, do you think their jobs would have been threatened?
No, I don't think so. You see, that Mr. President decided to make the National Security Advisor a Nuhu Ribadu shouldn't be seen as a discount. No. You see, the NSA, as in Nuhu Ribadu, is a personification of that office. It was up to Nuhu Ribadu to have built himself a team. Look, the best general can be NSA and still fail woefully if he does not have the right heads in the National Security Agency. He is a National Security Advisor. What I'm trying to tell you is today, as we speak, intelligence is useless if the handler is not intelligent. Okay? That's one of the first things I was taught when I was being handled as an intelligence officer way back. You could have intelligence right under your nose, even smelling. And it could be useless if you are not intelligent. So where am I going? When Nuhu Ribadu, just like retired General Monguno, when Nuhu Ribadu became NSA, on a program, I said something in form of an advice for him. And what did I say? You see, as an NSA, you have to be an embodiment of 3 attributes. You have to be a lion, you have to be a fox, and you have to be a peacock. And I explained all 3 and reached out through people that I felt are close to him. In fact, as close to him as my ear is to my head. Alas. But I would have advised him to do certain things which would have put him not only in charge, but it will have also put him in control. You see, NSAs are not meant to be seen. They are hardly heard, but there is a way they go about it and no one doubts who is in charge. Now, that is where I think Malam Nuhu Ribadu dropped the ball. Yes, because it's one thing for you to be NSA. It's one thing for you to have competent hands with you there in the agency. And it's also another thing for you to make them understand that even as competent as they are, you have them being watched every minute of the day. It compels them to report to you all the time. So our kind of job, or my former kind of job, the intelligence community, is fraught with a lot of intrigues. And it's also fraught with what we call smoke and mirrors. And if you don't know your onion, then you become the fall guy. Yes, the NSA is going to have some explaining to do, but I promise you it's not about him alone. It's also about his team of officers there. And I tell you, the officers in the national security agencies are not policemen. They are generals. They are people who know the intelligence community as well as the intelligence community knows them. But then, as I told you, intelligence could be utterly very useless if whoever is handling intelligence is not intelligent. It's a very, very key prerequisite.
I know that you're vast in this. Where does that leave Ribadu now that the service chiefs have been, have been changed? We're not really sure, because I know that in a coup situation, most of the times the NSA, if that coup exposure didn't come from the NSA, it seems to suggest that the NSA may have compromised or is complicit in that kind of scenario. What do you think about that?
Well, what I straight on, the list of officers who were relieved of their offices, one officer was retained, and that's Major General Baka Udiande. He's the Chief of Defense Intelligence. The news we got came from the Defense Intelligence Agency of the foiled plot. The NSA has been silent, so have anything coming from its quarters. Now, there are certain things we do, and you did no telling that once such things happen, there is a likelihood that may have rendered him persona non grata. It's nothing personal, it's just professional. If something happened under your watch, then the honorable thing and the safe thing to do from the presidency or from the quarters of the presidential advisory and offices may just be to honorable tell you thank you for your service, sir. You will have to go. It's possible.
I mean, this forces or compels us to, take a step back and look at. I'm sorry, am I interrupting? But
No.
let me quickly push this in. It makes us to look back at the appointment of Nuhu Ribadu as the NSA. At that point, the rumor mongers, the news that was flying around on social media was that the relationship that Mr. President Bola Ahmed Tinubu has with Madam Nuhu Ribadu was just so strong that Mr. President felt that this is someone that is like my own. He knows me into my bedroom. In Hausa, they'll say, "Ya sanne har cikin ɗaki."
That's true.
But this has not worked. This has not worked for Mr. President in the rise of this attempted coup. Did Mr. President err in putting sentiments ahead of professionalism to protect himself as in employing the NSA?
I think to a certain degree, Mr. President compensated his allies and friends with certain appointments. So here's the thing. If you were a friend of Mr. President, for example, Gimba Umar, knowing you are a media person, he may have made you his Minister of Communication or something like that. But you see, that I was loyal to you and that I invested in your success does not make me competent for any office you think. When I say competent, I'm not talking about suitable. You are suitable does not mean you are competent. Let me give an example Nigerians can relate to it, okay? Because it has to do with football. I know everybody follows football. A certain gentleman called Arsene Wenger. I don't recall him playing football one day. I don't. I can't. I tried. But you know what? He sat in a club and turned it to a five-star club. I remember Arsene Wenger would pick people from the dustbin of football history and brush them up and polish them. And before you know that, he's giving them out for so much. That's it. That's it. That's competence. Malan Nubadu was more of a loyalist than he was of somebody that I could say was skilled in the business of intelligence. If he was really skilled in the business of intelligence, he didn't have to be a retired military officer to sit there. All he needed to do was to put the machineries in place that makes him a lion, a fox, and a peacock. I used to read one of my, the founding father of the CIA, and they used to put it this way: you see, as a lion, you are feared, you are a conduit, and as a fox, you are cunning and smart, and as a peacock, you are loved by all. So you have to wear the toga selectively as time requires, and that's who an NSA is. He's never seen, he's never heard, but he maintains an absent presence everywhere, even within his own men's ranks. That's how NSAs behave. They know what you are thinking even before you think about it. But then, if you exhibit any of such in deficit, then right there within the NSA, there could be moles. Okay, yes, there could be moles who will exploit you and make you look bad. So, as a leader, you will have to take responsibility for whatever the president makes of his agency as of now.
Now, let me see if this will be an appropriate one to ask you. General Christopher Musa, the former CDS, many think and have this notion of his contribution to national security, fighting the insurgents in the Northeast. He has had that experience. He has got, look at his profile. His profile is just full of one achievement to another achievement to the next achievement. And people feel that somebody like this, who brought the attention of this attempted coup to Mr. President, may have gotten a better treatment. What do you make of that?
First things first, Umar. You see, our kind of job is a thankless job. What do I mean by the thankless job? You really can't thank a man enough for choosing to place his life online to defend his nation. But having said that, General Musa was an infantry officer. We served together while I was in the army. I was adjutant in my unit. He was adjutant 2 Mechanized Division Camp. General Musa was also, if I want to say, someone who is not new to northern Nigeria. He's from Kaduna State, and he also schooled in Sokoto State. General Musa is also somebody who was not, he was born into soldiering. His father was a soldier. So he's like me, whose father was a soldier. They are all barrack boys. So General Musa can relate with the soldiers because his father was one. He can relate with officers because he became one. He can relate with generals because he is one. And he can also relate with civilians because they attended civil schools like the one in Sokoto. So what I'm trying to say here is this. I'm not particularly surprised by the way he was spoken because here home, just like they say in the Bible, a prophet is not valued in his hometown. I have seen generals who were also exemplary and they were not given the kind of treatment they required, all in the name of politics. So General Musa has done well. Not everything he did went down well, fine. But on the aggregate, if I were to say one or two things about him, I would say he did very well. He did very well. He's going home to rest now. He's going out of active service. I know he's a very smart and intelligent officer, and I wouldn't be surprised if he puts himself to some endeavor who will still profit, promote, and benefit national security. I'm waiting to hear that, but I won't be surprised. He's that kind of person. He's proactive and he's a creative person. Yes, indeed.
Interesting indeed. We'll wait to hear how that pans out at the end, but I most sincerely thank you, Captain Aliyu Rtd, for talking to us here on Front Row Politics, here on Control TV. The lines are not very good, but I'm sure that YouTube is doing the needful to make it as clear as possible from my end and from your end. And to everyone who has been part of this show, I want to thank you so much indeed for being a part of it and for watching. You could share and like us as quickly as you can, just so that we're able to get the perspective of a military man, retired, albeit, Captain Aliyu Umar. Thank you again.
My pleasure. Give me a blessed day ahead.
On Friday, we got news of this appointment. Yes, of this appointment of new service chiefs. So some people, they said it took them by surprise. Others say, oh, it's routine. This, according to the new terms and conditions of service, service chiefs serve for an average of 2 years, and after which it is the president who determines if their tenure will be extended or if they will be told thank you and new service chiefs appointed. For you, how did it come to you, the news of the new service chiefs?
You know, I think it is something that is normal in every country in the world. If the commander-in-chief feels at any time that the service chiefs are not performing, or any one of them is not performing, he has all the constitutional right and power to change them. I do hope that the situation we are in is not because there are rumors of a coup, you know, and that if that sort of thing could happen under them, it means they are not taking care of what they are supposed to be taken care of. And I also believe, too, that if it were for non-performance, with respect to the insurgency that is still going on, because nearly every week, Governor Zulum is always crying about Boko Haram, ISWAP, you know, and what they are doing in Borno State, especially. Okay? And we don't seem to be succeeding in getting an end to this insurgency. 15 years. And maybe we are going along with what General Buratai has predicted, that the insurgency will go along for forever. But then, if it were how many years should service chiefs serve and when they should come and when they should leave, I don't think that has been constitutionalized really. Because after all, under Buhari, they stayed for over 6 years before they were changed. Okay, so maybe that is what Senator Ali Ndume is trying to do with the new bill that he has presented, because they are going to look at the whole issue of armed forces bill, and what are the powers of the president, the chief of defense staff, and the service chiefs. Okay, I do hope that they will look at the example of South Africa. You have a wonderful, you know, articles concerning the armed forces, concerning the relationship between the armed forces and the Ministry of Defense, concerning the relationship between Ministry of Defense and the presidency, okay, and looking at the whole ecosystem of the security architecture in this country. That is what is needed, and that is what is still missing up till now. So you keep on changing service chiefs, they come into the same system, they do their own bit, go, the situation has not changed. In fact, if you look at it as an observer, what you discover is that it appears that both the safety and security situations are not improving at all. Unfortunately, like I keep telling people, they do not differentiate between safety and security. Nigeria is secured. Nobody's attacking Nigeria. But public safety is our problem. And it's an internal problem that we are not facing squarely.
When you say nobody is attacking Nigeria, do you mean in terms of its territorial integrity, in terms of a conventional war? Because if you speak within military circles, they'll tell you Nigeria is at war. However, I mean, safety, when you talk about safety, I think it's very important for you to define very clearly what it is you mean. When you say safety, what comes to my mind are things like accidents on the road, drowning incidents, as we've seen, tanker spillage, losing people carelessly in situations we could avoid. Is that what you're referring to? Or are you referring to things like Boko Haram, bandits, kidnappers? Are those matters of safety?
Yeah, safety issues, because the people you are talking about are citizens of your own country. They are not coming from all these stories about some people coming from outside, and it's a lie. Big lie. We have a safety problem in this country. When embassies want to make announcement, they tell you that don't come to Nigeria because Nigeria is not safe. They don't say because Nigeria is not secured. Security means that somebody is coming from outside to come and attack you. So if you have problems on your border, something is wrong with you and your relationship with your neighbors. Take Niger, for example. The people who are sharing borders with Kanu are Hausa people. Kanu people are Hausa. Is it the Hausa from Niger that will attack Hausa in Kanu? Common sense, logic.
But we cannot isolate Nigeria from the, from some of the incidences we've seen in other African countries. So, for instance, in Central African Republic, the insurgency that is currently happening there, insurgency in parts of Mali, the incidents that happened in Libya, and the fact that, our borders have been porous to many of these non-state actors who can come into our country or have been alleged to come into our country to cause trouble.
The whole thing is a joke.
Is it?
It's a big joke. Mali, today, for example, Mali has closed the schools for 2 weeks. Why? The jihadists in Mali have blocked the road for transportation of fuel into the capital, into other areas of Mali. Are those ones who will find time to come to Nigeria? The people in Niger are being opposed by the same jihadists. There's a linkage between Mali and Niger and Burkina Faso. They share the same common border. Okay? And those ones are jihadists. You have Boko Haram, which is a form of jihadist movement. ISWAP broke away from Boko Haram, which is a form of jihadist movement. These are people who are of the Kanuri ethnic group in Nigeria. They are the people of Kanuri ethnic group in Nigeria. And therefore, if you want to deal with them, like Mao Zedong says, if you have an insurgency, the insurgents are within a community. The community is the river. If you drain the river, the insurgents cannot swim like fish. But we are not looking at it like that. Therefore, if insurgency is still continuing in the northeast, and most of the insurgents are Kanuri people, then what are the Kanuri people doing themselves? And I remember when the late Idris Deby led his army, a whole president, led his army to go and fight Boko Haram. Boko Haram said, no, we have no problem with you Chadians. It is Nigeria. It is Borno State. And you see that over the past 15 years, every time you hear in the south, oh, Boko Haram is a lie. They have never come across anywhere. Boko Haram concentrates in Borno State. They've been in Borno State for the past 15 years, and they know what they want. And all those people who are surrounding them too know what they want. Why is it that they are continuing? Why is it that they are getting support from some other people or something? Why is it that the armed forces are so weak against them? Those are the questions we need to ask and to answer, and we have answers to them.
Well, we do know that this Chief of Defense Staff, former Chief of Defense Staff now, General Christopher Musa, before he left, kept on, harping on the fact that, the solutions that need to be brought forward, the solutions that we need to end this, cannot be kinetic alone. He is harped on the fact that a lot more needs to be done in the non-kinetic area. A lot more needs to be done to end poverty. A lot more needs to be done to upgrade the living standards of the people. And it's unclear, if the message really got across to the political class as to what exactly, he was talking about. For you, as somebody who has seen this up front and, up close as well, what are your thoughts on some of the things that he said with regards to non-kinetic measures?
A governor in Zamfara when put up a video, they say that he is not getting the support he needs from security agencies. They should allow him to set up a state police, and within 2 months, he will take care of the problem. What does that say to you? Which means that there's a disconnect between the people and the security agencies. And therefore, we have heard so many stories that sometimes the security agencies collude with the bandits and criminals. Now, what is important for us is this step: separate criminality from insurgency. Let the armed forces face insurgency. Let the armed forces not start running after kidnappers in Kwara State or bandits in Zamfara.
And they connected.
Paramilitary police, the paramilitary police was created. The paramilitary police was created as a the mobile force, as a paramilitary police. And what do you call it paramilitary? To be able to take up what the military does not need to do. The military is doing what they did not need to do right now. And everybody just keeping quiet. What is the paramilitary police doing? You put paramilitary police together under the police. The IGP is very happy. He has policing, he has paramilitary policing. It's not his job. Separate policing from banditry and so on. And once you can do that, by creating state police, and in some countries, in fact, not only do you have a state police, you have police commandos too, so that they can solve some of the problems within the state when it comes to banditry and something like that. Some people come up with the argument that, oh no, you give them, the governor will control them. Why not? You say the governor, according to his constitution, is the chief security officer. Why is he not supposed to have the power to control security agencies in his own state? In every federal system, you must have this 3-tier public safety system. You must have this 3-tier public, local government, state, federal. In the case of federal, you don't need policing at the federal level. You don't need policing at all, because public safety is bottom up. If your village, my village is safe, Nigeria will be safe. Nigeria will be safe. It's as simple. It's logical.
I know
separate
that
policing from insurgency.
I know that my colleague Ayo has questions for you as well. Ayo.
Thank you, Mokwe. General, one of the indirect consequences of decisions
I cannot hear you.
is, I hope you can hear me now, General, 'cause one of the things that a number of people, particularly ex-soldiers, are saying is that in a way the federal government may be demotivating the people that you are asking to go do the needful now, particularly with the HTACOs, that's the harmonized terms and conditions of service for military officers, and some of them for officers enlisted and enlisted personnel in the Nigerian Armed Forces. Now, on the one hand, they're saying that for all of the things that they're going to get, bulletproof vehicles for each one of them, backup vehicles, lifetime medical and assistance and all of that. Some of them are saying, look, why are you doing that for all the people who are officers of the Nigerian Army, and you're not really paying attention to the junior officers? That in a way, it could be demotivating those who are at work right now. What are your thoughts? Go ahead, General.
Actually, what he was asking is that the welfare of those at the bottom doesn't seem to have been looked after. There have been allegations that those at the top want to do things to favor themselves. So what exactly needs to happen for, whatever reforms are being done at the top to really trickle down and those at the bottom looked after?
No, I think what's also missing in our own system is that every organization is also supposed to have what we call an inspector general. What does that person do? Is to look at every how the system in that organization operates. So if there are complaints, for example, that Inspector General will pick it up and make sure that that system is, corrected. Now, we have had the armed forces. I've always been wondering how does the Commander-in-Chief knows how everything is going on well in the armed forces? How does he know? How does he know? It's impossible. Whereas it's an important sector that you must have somebody, apart from the Ministry of Defense, who will be inspecting the armed forces every year and submitting a report. And even the whole system of the security agencies in Nigeria, the same thing. The same mistake we're also making is that, see, we separated police from the Ministry of Internal Affairs. Internal Affairs is supposed to be in charge of domestic security, domestic safety. Every agency that's supposed to do that should come under the Ministry of Internal Affairs and coordinated. What has happened is that, leave the custom out. Custom is a revenue generating agency. Give it to the Ministry of Finance.
That's where it currently is.
That's what it should be. But it's under the Ministry of Internal Affairs. You get my point? But leave the custom to the Ministry of Finance. Get immigration, police, civil defense. Now they created forest security, something now. You bring all those ones because they are part of your domestic security. You bring them. Okay. There must be an Inspector General. Okay. Then you now have the armed forces under the Ministry of Defense. Have an Inspector General of the armed forces who report directly to the Commander-in-Chief.
An Inspector General of the Armed Forces.
Thank you, ma'am.
Isn't that the role of the Chief of Defense Staff?
Good. The whole role of the Chief of Defense Staff, like they call it, Chief of Defense Staff to the President. He commands the armed forces in some countries, but maybe the new bill will change that now. He commands the whole armed forces. That is Inspector General of the armed forces checks whether the Chief of Defense Staff and service commanders are doing their job and reports to the Commander-in-Chief. When it comes to operations, Chief of Defense Staff, that's what they call Chief of Defense Staff to the Commander-in-Chief. When it comes to checking whether they are doing their job, that is Inspector General of Police.
That's like an auditor of sorts.
Pardon?
Is it the Inspector General whom you speak of will be like an auditor of sorts?
Thank you. It's a sort of an auditor of the armed forces. Okay. In fact, in the past, in the 80s or so, what used to happen is that every year there's always check, not only of the armed forces, but all the ministries, to check every position. What is that person doing? Why do you have this organization? Why do you have this section? If they are not necessary, they scrap them. Nowadays,
just to confirm, though, the Customs Service is actually with the Ministry of Finance.
When you come to the welfare of all these things,
yes,
it will be detected early enough, and then correction can be taken. Corruption is everywhere, so it's also in the armed forces, and nobody seems to want to do anything much about them because of impunity in Nigeria. There's serious impunity.
When I asked you about the appointment and what you made of it, on the one hand you said it was routine, on the other hand you said, it's coming on the heels of these rumors of a coup, which the military has denied very vehemently, even though they do not deny the arrest of certain soldiers, senior officers included, but they have said that has got nothing to do with a rumored coup. As someone who has served within the armed forces in very important offices, what is your conclusion, or what would I say, what is your analysis of this denials? Is this something you buy? Is this something you think, well, we're not going to get a confirmation, certainly not from military headquarters?
No, see, we've got to look at what's happening all over Africa now. Mm-hmm. We are coming back to the 60s and 70s when coups were common all over Africa. And we've all known over this period of time that in Africa, there are no opposition parties. There are no opposition parties at all. Even what's happening in Nigeria today too, where everybody is joining APC. At the end of the day, where the opposition? Okay. So in nearly every country in Africa now, the military is the opposition party.
The military?
Yes. The military is the opposition party. Why? Because when there is a coup d'etat, people go into the street and rejoice. Why? That is why AU, ECOWAS, they are helpless when there are coup d'etats. People have gone into the street. Take the case of Madagascar now. The Constitutional Court sworn in the colonel to the president of the country. Constitutional Court, which makes it legal, and on the people's side, legitimate. So when you have that sort of situation, it is because the opposition party is missing. Now, the second thing is this, is that the presidential system of government is bad for Africa. Very bad for Africa, very bad for the control of the armed forces. Why am I saying so? When you look at the parliamentary system, or what South Africa has, is a mixed parliamentary and presidential system. People do not know that the people of South Africa do not elect the South African president. He's elected by the parliament just like a prime minister in UK. And the parliament can also remove him, majority vote. Not the impeachment process that we copied from United States. The level of accountability in that system is always very important too. Okay, and when it comes to the control of the armed forces or police, so look at UK that gave us independence. There's no federal police in the UK. None. Every county has its own county police. Why are they doing that? Again, it gives power to those at the county political level to be able to control and make sure that they are safe. Safety is always bottom up, and it goes along with your political structure. Okay. The second thing also is this, is that when you see any country that is doing well, there's a form of what we call in Nigeria resource control. But that's what we call subsidiarity. Subsidiarity in form of, if they find gold in my area, the gold belongs to the people in that area. It does not belong to the whole of the country. What will happen now is this, is that the people of that area get the gold, they share the revenue with the rest of the country that they belong to. If you have that sort of system, who wants to do a coup? If you do coup in the central, the people in the state will say, what's our business with you?
Well, the military has constantly maintained that they remain apolitical and that they always fare better under a democratic system. I'm just asking, given what you know and what you've seen over the years, whether this is something that you buy in terms of how the military has denied, these rumors.
No, it is because, again, when you look at political parties in Africa, there are no political parties, except countries like ANC, South Africa, where they came from for the past 100 years and things like that. There are no political parties in Africa. You know why? A group of individuals or one person has enough money to control the whole party. So when they come to primary, what do you see? It is not manifesto. It is money that determines who becomes the candidate. In that sort of system, is that a political party?
So are you issuing a message of warning to Nigerian political leaders or the democratic leaders in Nigeria?
Yeah, if you see, again, I always tell people we are making a mistake in the whole of Africa. You see everywhere, universities, this one, that one, Center for Leadership Training, Center for Leadership something. It is not true. We have a followership problem in Africa. We have a followership problem. Why? Why should you go and give somebody 5,000 naira and then that person will vote for a crook? And then you come and complain later. You cannot complain. So your problem is followership, not leadership. I saw one big conference one time, they said leadership forum. What are you leading? What are you leading? In every system in Nigeria, corruption. Where the leadership? And it's because people do not talk. It's because people do not talk. Anywhere you have a lacking followership, no. Like another head of that show, why did they have trade union? The essence of trade union is to have the collective interest of the people for any company to be run. In fact, in a place like Germany, trade unionists have members on the board of every company in Germany. Trade unionists have members on the board. Listen, our problem in Africa is followership.
So what solutions are you proposing?
First of all, I will concentrate on enlightening followership in Nigeria and tell people the power belongs to you. It's a mistake for you to believe that the military is going to save you. In the military, there are many crooks too, like you have among the politicians. I don't call them politicians, they are politicians. So you have the same in the military too. And therefore, the power rests with you through a good political party system that you control. And I've always been asking the young people in our country, especially those below 50 years of age, how come that you allow old people like me with money to dominate your party when majority of you who are below 50 are the majority members of that party? You must be hustlers.
Well, certainly, I think that's one advice that we all can broadcast. We have to thank you very much this morning for coming on our program. Major General Ishola Williams, retired, is a man of many parts, is former chairman, Nigerian chapter of Transparency International, a former commander, Army Signals, former commander, training and doctrine, and also former chief of defense training and planning. And it's been our pleasure.
I don't know what you make of this. Nigerians feel, sure, many people are just, will I say, frustrated, tired of the system, to the point that Nigerians are saying it would have been better the coup happened and all that. We know that democracy is far better than military rule. No matter how you put it, we cannot, because we have bad leaders, we now begin to canvass for military rule, where you as a civilian, you won't even have mouth, you know. Just that our politicians don't take advantage of the golden opportunity. You can imagine. The good roads we are asking them, not their money, the money you are borrowing, just give people good roads. Electricity people are asking for, not your money, just the money you are borrowing. Channel it, let's see it. All the things Nigerians are asking for, nobody is saying go and use your pocket money. The money you borrow, just carry the people along. Show them what you are doing. Let the people feel the money you are borrowing, so that even if you are going to borrow more, people will say borrow more. Recently, there was this headline trying to say, oh, Alex Otti has borrowed this amount. Alex Otti has borrowed. People were like, let him borrow. We are seeing what he's using the money for. Chikina, that's governance. Do you know if these politicians decide to give Nigerians good governance, they can steal as much as they like. Nobody will bother. I'm telling you. Nobody will bother, because when your leaders are giving you what you actually want, tell me why will you be worried if you see them buying houses abroad, if you see them changing their SUVs, provided they are giving your own share? But we live in a country where they won't give you their share, your own share, but you hear that they have houses abroad. You hear that their children are in other schools outside the country. You hear of them owning all kinds of things in Nigeria, buying all kinds of houses, building all kinds of things, buying lands, owning heaven and earth, forgetting that nobody lives on this planet Earth forever. The opportunity God gave you to transform people's life, you mismanage it. Like the current administration, they told us that, okay, recently they said the Inland Revenue Service has generated, like, is it close to 40 or 50 trillion naira in just 2 years, from 2023 to 2025, let's call it 2 years. They've generated so much, around 40 trillion, you know. We are not even talking about custom and all that agencies that generate money for this government. Now, Buhari left 77 trillion naira before he retired, before he left office as debt. The Tinubu's government has borrowed close to, I don't know if it's up to 180 trillion now. Let's say between 150 to 180 trillion. Where is the money going to? We don't even go to subsidy that has been removed, though. The money for subsidy. See, there's a way you will prank on people. People will just be tired of you. Nigerians are really tired of this government. You know? Anyway, we are not here to canvass or military coup or no coup. What we want to say is, please, the little office you are occupying, even as people that are not in public offices, that little office you're occupying, try to be fair. You know, try to be fair. Try to do your work judiciously, because whatever a man sows, that he will reap. You know, the Bible says, blessed are those who show mercy, they will also obtain mercy. But these politicians, they don't understand all that. Anyway, guys, I don't know what you make of all this coup of a thing. For me, I think democracy is better. Just that the politicians are the one making people to say, oh, military coup is better, military coup is better, but it is never the best, you know. Just that with Africa is not blessed with leadership. That's just my own take. Anyway, let me just take some of the reactions from this video you just watched on YouTube. This person say, any soldier that thought they will overthrow President Tinubu and still have Nigeria to rule, they are joking, because there will be no Nigeria for them to rule. Any coup now will be the end of Nigeria. Yoruba will go, Biafra will go, so that the North will have themselves and the middle bed to deal with right from the one. And this person, a lion, a fox, or a peacock. Wow. What was the combination? Wow, what a combination in security acquisition, competence and intelligence. Baba, I doff my cap, please. Why not our leaders engage in officers to train our security personnel? Thank you, Baba, for the lecture. This person says, when Singapore, Malaysia, Indonesia, and China reform the people, the people was hungry and in pain, but they didn't start behaving animals. In Nigeria, it will not work, that madness. This man says, so Nigeria has still great and intelligent people like this officer. What an intelligent man. Just listen to what he said. You may be intelligent. You may be intelligent agency and not being an intelligent. So these are just some of the reactions from Nigerians. I was reading from YouTube. It's not really that clear for me to easily capture the words, the wordings, you know. But I think what we just need is a better country from all the people involved, be the Senate, the presidency, the judiciary. Just give Nigerians what we are asking, you know, from your pocket. The money you borrow, the money you remove from subsidy, the one you generate, use it to serve the masses. Look at the roads across Nigeria. Look at the insecurity. Tell me what is preventing this government in a digital world, a world of AI, a world of all kinds of science and technology. These people, we are being told that they are invaders. They come from different countries and they will come buy people go free. I don't know where the conscience is. Leadership isn't rocket science, so like people will say. It isn't. It isn't. I'm telling you. If other countries have gone through what Nigeria is going through today and they came out successfully, why is that of Nigeria always stopped? Very soon, Tinubu will finish his 4 years in office. What is he going to show to the people? That's just the question everybody should be asking. Anyway, guys, that's just my own take. Let me know your thoughts on this in the comment section below. Please don't forget to subscribe and turn on the bell notification. Thank you.